kids on the line.
Yeah.
So Candy's coming at 12:30.
Oh,
It's a second back.
okay.
So, which is a good thing.
Oh, you got tournaments?
Audra and Nancy Bush.
Yeah. He'll probably do it, but I'll
You can buzz out.
I'll watch it.
Buzz out.
I never even like.
I thought of that this morning. That'll work out good.
And I should, and I'm supposed to
Yeah,
stay
we're
here.
going to fix something else. Then everybody don't know between now and then.
But that's true.
Okay.
It did. Sit down. It felt like a bird.
I was gonna say it probably felt like every time you moved.
Yeah. No.
Doesn't have that
Did you have fun
right.
with that?
I'm nervous, yeah, because I have seen those.
That would have been pretty good.
Yeah. It was, But you know what? It was a lot of fun. And we rode almost all the roller coasters. And there was except for one because we ate. And then we went on a ride and my husband and I got kind of sick. The kids were fine. Well, they were adults, but and then he said the next ride we were gonna skip. And they went on it and they were like, "Oh, you be glad you didn't go on it." She's like, it was rough for me. Like the joking around and stuff. So you're sitting in this court waiting for them to get off the ride. And all of a sudden, we're so nauseated. But it got better. It felt better. Whatever they gave us, $80 a person.
I was gonna say, got the tickets.
Hi, how are you enjoying it? Well, now we can get started, you know. And just kidding.
And so we went online and got our tickets online.
What do you think? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Know and Go. We should probably get started. I want to be sensitive to everyone's time. My name is Jim Mugen. I'm the Senior Vice President of the St. Agnes Medical Group in Medical Affairs. So with that, I'm going to start with a reflection, then I'll do some introductions. I really think you're going to enjoy today's presentation. So our reflection is great things you can do. Go ahead, make it happen. Forget about what others think. There are plenty of challenges, obstacles, and things that can go wrong, but none of that has to stop you. Prepare yourself well for what you intend to do, and then do it. Step forward, keep going, and persist until the job is done. Yes, you'll make mistakes, suffer setbacks, experience your share of frustration, inconvenience, and discomfort. But that's no reason to shy away from the good things you know you can accomplish. The temporary pains of your effort are nothing compared to the permanent pain of regret that you would have if you let an opportunity pass by. So jump in, meet the challenges, give the best you have. Don't leave yourself wondering what might have been. Use this opportunity to show yourself and the world all the great things you can do. All right, with that, oh, by the way, any housekeeping items, fill out the survey form, or is it the green or the yellow? And there's a drawing at the end. So the survey or your input is helpful as we plan future Know and Go presentations. Again, there will be some giveaways at the end, so make sure you complete your door prize slip. This morning's presentation is going to offer some insight on how we can react to work-related stressors and how these reactions can lead to burnout. We are joined by Dr. Heather Schmidt, family medicine provider and Ignition Health Care's Health and Wellness Medical Director, who will share ways how coworkers can encourage a thriving workplace culture that brings innovation, resilience, and well-being, and how we can deal with the feelings and emotions before we reach that burnout level. We also have Laura Newman, and who's the Surgical Peds Director, and Mary Miller, 6 South Clinical Supervisor, who will tell us how their teams are helping coworkers through their challenging days and events. With that, please join me in introducing Dr. Heather Schmidt.
Good morning. How's everybody?
Good.
Good. Am I standing okay? I will try not to walk. So thank you all for coming. I know it's a beautiful, sunny Friday in July, and you're probably hoping you were on vacation, but that's okay. So we'll still have fun, right? So today we'll talk a little bit about burnout. We've talked a lot about this, but I think it's such an important topic that we just need to kind of keep hammering it home that we need to do something about this. So the first thing we'll do is start with the quiz. So, you ready? So in the past week, how many of you, so we'll go through all of these, skipped a meal? You ready? Okay. Ate a poorly balanced meal? Worked an entire shift without any breaks? Changed personal or family plans because of work? This is an important one, I'll tell you about it. Arrived home late from work? Felt frustrated by technology? Drank too much coffee? Slept less than 5 hours a night? Right, we're in trouble, aren't we? So this is actually a tool that can measure burnout, resiliency, and work-life balance. All of us kind of struggle a little bit, don't we? Yeah. So the one that's actually even most powerful at future risk of burnout is this one. So when you start changing personal plans so that you have to stay at work longer, right, and not go home with your family, that's a predictor for somebody who's going to be burnt out in a year. So something to think about. So burnout, as you can see, it's all over the literature, right? It's anything you read, anything you turn on the TV, everybody's talking about burnout. And so it's not just physicians, but physicians it's pretty high. So this is older data, this is from 2011, but 30 to 40% burnout, it's really closer to over 50%. And actually the most recent study that was done in Wisconsin shows over 80% have at least one symptom of burnout. And so if you remember, the burnout symptoms are compassion fatigue, which is where you really are just tired of caring. Like you just get to the point that you're exhausted. Emotional exhaustion, and then decreased depersonalization, where things just kind of become another number, another person, another thing you're doing. And then the decreased sense of personal accomplishment at work. And so those days that, when you go to work and you can actually feel purpose and meaning when you come and you feel leaving like, wow, I'm doing a great job, you're still doing pretty good. When you come to work and you feel like, I don't know why I'm even here, you're in trouble. Okay, so those are those symptoms. So nurses, also a major problem, right? So half are emotionally exhausted or burnt out. 2 out of 3 have difficulty sleeping. We had several people raise their hand with less than 5 a night. And 1 out of 4 are clinically depressed. And so depression and burnout are not the same. Depression can come from burnout, but they're not exactly the same. Burnout technically does not have what we call an ICD-10 diagnosis that we would bill, but it's probably coming. So it's not just the nurses and doctors, everybody is struggling. So from just the HR data, we have people that are really, 52% stressed at work. Anybody who ever feels stressed at work? Yeah. 60% work-related pressure has increased. And then, we have 95% of HR leaders are recognizing burnout as a major problem, and it's really leading to difficulty with retention of staff, recruitment of staff, and so this is becoming a major problem. I'm part of the Wisconsin Council of Medical Education and Workforce, and if we don't do something different, we're really in trouble. So we need to make sure that we're really looking inside ourselves and trying to do something about this. So it's not just burnout like for ourselves, but it's actually affecting our safety, our quality. Burnout is single-handedly the most important factor when it comes to quality and safety measures. So this is a big deal. And there's lower patient satisfaction. What do we get paid on, right? So we have all these metrics that we're trying to meet that are challenging because we're hurting ourselves. And so our patient satisfaction is impacted, our infection rate is impacted, our the medication errors and regular medical errors is actually a problem with burnout, and then actually the standardized mortality too. So who's at risk? So the people that are the ones that are really gunning it, those ones that are really working the long hours, they're really giving it their all, they're really the ones that are probably most at risk, but certainly all of us that play, we're all really in a higher risk profession. With burnout, eventually we will, with healthcare in general, we're at risk, just because of the nature of the work that we do. So there are some things that we can do for ourselves that can help prevent this. There are people that are more resilient than others. There are people that do all of these things, they work really hard and they never really struggle. And so those are the people we try to want to be like, but it's hard. And we all come to this world, as you've heard us say many times with trauma-informed care work, that we all have our own invisible suitcase. So, but when we spend time with our spouse or with our partner, we have social support. That's what we're going to talk a lot about today. Social support is incredibly important. A positive learning environment, so you guys come and you continue to learn, which is awesome. Having a clinician as a parent, I'm not sure how that actually increases your resilience, but my kids are constantly giving me a hard time. But being a parent is also something that we can rely on to help us with our own needs, and then getting satisfaction from conversations with others. When we spend time with other people and we build those relationships, that helps us. And so being able to talk and being able to really make sure that we're doing that, it's hard these days. We get so caught up in all of our messaging, our inbox, our emailing, and we spend so much time doing that maybe we don't talk to each other as much as we should. So make sure you're doing that. So the psychology of burnout is that the focus of your focus, your kind of what you see, your perception is your reality. And so when we are constantly surrounded by negativity, it actually impacts us, and it really makes us feel like that is what our reality is, what we do day to day. And so anybody spend any time on social media? Nobody? Seriously? No Twitter fans? No Facebook? No. Really? I was gonna say. Nobody's raising their hand, but anybody think spending too much time on social media can impact you? Absolutely. So there was a study done that actually looked at the psychological language on Twitter and then applied it to morbidity and mortality rates in a county, I think it was in Pennsylvania. So they actually, I had to take the bubbles out because these bubbles were a little bit graphic. But they looked at the language of people's Twitter feeds, and they looked at the negative language, and so there were a lot of swear words. There was a lot of anger, hostility, they looked at that, and then they looked at the positive. And so people who had positive words on their Twitter feed, and then they looked and applied it towards normal predictors of morbidity and mortality. So the typical stuff, we think about is the income and education, smoking, diet, exercise, all those things that we look at from a public health standpoint to keep a population healthy. And those were all, pretty good. All predictors except Twitter were, about here at the point, it looks a little bit past the 0.35, okay? So then they looked at the Twitter language, and Twitter, just Twitter, look how much more powerful that was. You're talking, it went from here with all of these things that we are known predictors, and Twitter is way out here, just Twitter. And so it's pretty crazy that what we're really spending a lot of time doing on social media is truly impacting us. And not just our mental health, but our physical health. And so they combine the two, and we're just barely a little bit better. right? And so Twitter is pretty powerful. So if you're on any social media, maybe that's the one you don't want to be on, but it is just something that goes to show that when we're constantly reading things that are negative, reading the news, listening to the news on social media, seeing feeds, seeing everybody else's feeds, it is impacting us and our reality. So burnout is what happens when you get to the point that you can't feel things. You can't see things that are supposed to be happy. You can't feel good, positive emotion. And so you're to the point that you just are a little bit flat. So it's just this impaired ability to feel those positive emotions. So let's think about what the positive emotions are. Does anybody name any positive emotions? Joy, good one. Yes? Laughter. Amusement is what they call it. Yes. Gratitude is a very good one. Love, a very powerful one, right? Think of anything else? It's hard to see, but joy, gratitude, right? So serenity, anybody feel like when you're feeling peaceful and serene, you feel pretty good? Interest, so actually having interest in something and going after that and really learning, that continued learning is a good positive emotion. Hope, seems pretty positive, right? Pride, so that sense of pride and accomplishment actually makes you feel pretty good. Amusement is a really great one. Inspiration, so reading about people that are inspirational, actually doing something inspirational, being kind of fed by that will actually help you too. And awe, I love that one. So when you can go outside and you can see, wow, it's a beautiful day, the sun is shining, or hey, those mountains are beautiful, those flowers are beautiful. When you can't pay attention to that, you're in trouble. So that's one that I use a lot. And then love. So should we measure burnout or should we measure resiliency? I actually love the idea of measuring resiliency because it's much more positive, right? So why would we continue to measure burnout and talk about burnout when it's so negative? And so today we're going to spend a lot of time talking about resiliency and what we can do to actually improve that. Because if we can actually measure this and put this in a perspective of a positive, maybe we can feel a little bit better about it, okay? And so a few things, resiliency is made up of a couple different things, so emotional thriving and emotional recovery. So emotional thriving, and you may have noticed, anybody do the safety and culture survey? Hopefully everybody will raise their hand. So we were able to put a few questions in this year. Did anybody pay attention to some of those questions look a little bit like this, like using your strengths every day at work. Thriving at your job. So when you feel like you're coming to work and you're thriving, that's awesome. Making a meaningful difference at your job, and then actually feeling pleasantly fascinated by the things that happen to you during the day. So that's actually a measure of emotional thriving, which is part of resiliency. Emotional recovery are these things like, you bounce back quickly after difficulties, something's happening at work or home and you're able to bounce back pretty quick. Find a solution when something unforeseen happens. We're constantly getting things thrown at us, and if we can find a solution, we're doing pretty well. We can adapt to things that we can't influence, so there's a lot of things, especially in medicine, that we can't change. And so if we can adapt to that, we're doing pretty well. And then mood reliably recovers. And so these are ways to measure resiliency. So if we're measuring this, we can look to improve it, right? And so this is what my argument would be, is that we actually not necessarily stop measuring burnout, but that we really focus on that positive and see what we can do about improving that positive. So how do we do this? So there's some institutional things. So we have an executive rounding pilot going on. Anybody's been able to benefit from the executive rounding? Jeez, thank you. Couple hands. Nobody's raised their hands today. So this is an awesome thing. So basically what this is doing is getting people out there, and you're getting a chance, an opportunity to ask questions, to really get recognition and recognition for what you're doing well, and then being able to really just build relationships. And so we're hoping this can get bigger and bigger and bigger, because the more we talk, the more relationships we have, the better we're doing. Okay. Some other things that we can do both individually and departmentally that we are doing. So gratitude letter, there's a great video on this. I didn't include it because it's about 7 minutes long, but it's really taking the time to say thank you and really actually writing the letter down and then reading it to the person you're thankful for. And so by doing that, not only do you benefit, but the person that you're grateful for will also benefit. And those benefits will last about 6 months to, about 6 months or so. So the 3 good things, has anybody heard anything about 3 good things? Excellent. So 3 Good Things is an intervention, and so Duke Patient Safety Center has been funded by the NIH to do research on resiliency in healthcare workers. And so one of their tools that they're doing is 3 Good Things. So 3 Good Things is something that sounds pretty given, right? So you just state 3 good things that happen to you. But there's actually a point as to when you do it during the day. So at night before we go to bed, the last 2 hours you're awake is really how you're kind of framing your sleep and framing your next day. So at night before bed, if you're laying and watching a scary movie, or you're on Facebook, or you're playing Angry Birds, right? That's what you're going to remember as you're sleeping and what you're going to kind of think of in the morning. So if you can close your day with gratitude and you can think about 3 good things that are happening during the day, some days easier than others, then you can actually reset and kind of refocus your reset your focus. And so we are hardwired to see negative, and so it is a survival thing. We actually, it helps us do well, right? Things that we've learned from, it helps us learn when we see negative. But we are hardwired to see negative, so it's a lot harder to see positive. So if we force ourselves to see the positive, then it can actually help us to do that, okay? So after 4 to 5 days, they show that you can start to see more positive happening around you. This is something you can do every day, but the benefit even happens after 10 days. So if you can do this purposefully for 10 days in a row, they can still see measured improvement at 6 months or a year out. It's pretty powerful. So we're actually doing this in some departments, and so we are working together to kind of come up with our individual way that we're signed up for this cohort, that people can actually do it every night. They send a text and you can do it, and then we'll hopefully get our data back from Duke. But then we also are doing some things in the departments where we work together to see how we can actually be thankful for each other during the day. So these are just a couple examples of boards, because these are the only ones I had available to me. But this is OB's, where it says 3 good things a day kind of grows on you, and they have fresh picked strawberries, and people are writing good things that are happening and putting on the vine. This is the West one, where it's all about fireworks, and so it's hard to read what it is, but for July we did the Katy Perry firework, you're a firework theme. And so you can write 3 good things, and there's not too many on there yet, but I took the picture, but it's getting better and better, just more and more stars on the board. And so what we're hopeful for is that by doing this, we're really focusing on the positive with our coworkers as well. And so this is something that's going on right now, and hopefully after this is all done, I'll be able to present some data that we've been able to get by ourselves. But this is data from Duke, where they showed that when you do this 3 good things, you can see an improvement in happiness. So you can the pre-test and post-test at 1 week and all the way out to 6 months. And then even a decrease in depressive symptoms. So it's really powerful stuff, and pretty easy and really cheap, just to be grateful, right? So some other things that we're doing in our system we're going to learn about now, and so we'll have Laura come up and talk about Code Lavender, which I'm super excited to hear about. I've been hearing through the grapevine about this, and so I'm ready to hear formally.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, I'm Laura Newman. I am the director on 4 South and 6 South here at St. Agnes Hospital. And I'm going to talk to you about Code Lavender, which is something that we have in place on 4 South. It was developed by Judy Brown, who was a chaplain student by us last year. And so we give credit to her for this. Code Lavender was originally developed at the Cleveland Clinic as a way to provide employees a less stressful work environment. While most codes are called to support patients in times of acute distress, Code Lavender is called specifically for staff during times of high stress and difficult case situations. It's a time to pull together more intentionally and provide that intentional support as a team. Oh, I guess I should probably go through my slides. All right. So there are times of general stress in every work environment, and it's no different in our setting on 4 South. But we do also experience times with higher than normal stress. So times of high census, times where there's patients coming and going throughout the shift, high patient activity and acuity, unexpected codes. There's also times of just difficult cases where we've had unexpected deaths or patients with difficult diagnoses or difficult family dynamics or things like that that the staff is having to deal with outside of their normal shift routine. So with the support offered through Code Lavender, these situations can become less stressful. And when a Code Lavender is called, the team comes together as support. Some of the things that they do is just offering prayers and support, helping to anticipate each other's needs, pulling together and rallying around so everyone can do their best. And then again, being really intentional about the support that they provide to one another. And then sometimes one of the things that we do is we will call chaplain services. They've come up and just being a presence there. If they know a Code Lavender is in place, they will intentionally round and provide their support or offer to pray with us or just be there to give goodwill and things like that. Bereavement services is available, and behavioral health also have offered that if we need to do debriefings or anything like that, that they're available to help us out as well. Okay, there we go. So who calls a Code Lavender? Really anyone can call a Code Lavender. Supervisors, the charge nurse, or any team member. And there is no formal where you call the operator and call a code. There's no overhead announcement. There's no page that's sent out. But it's more we get the Code Lavender kit out, set out some symbols that signify to the people who come onto the unit or who are working on the unit that a Code Lavender is in place. And so those are set in common areas, and I'll go through the Code Lavender kit. So some of the things in there, I'll go through here. We have a kit. It's available in our huddle room or on the unit, and so there's just a box here. It's got felt pieces, lavender felt pieces, and LED candles in there. There's a calming jar, which just basically has some glitter and just things to just kind of de-stress a little bit. Lavender scented oils, and then there's also some things to read and kind of put your mind on something else and an invitation to mindfulness and just again something else to think about besides what's going out on the unit. Tissues in there for if they would be needed, things like that. So that's what's in our kit on the unit. Chocolates occasionally, but for some reason those tend to get consumed, so I don't have any of those today. Plus, we all have to be healthy, so. All right, so that is what I have for Code Lavender, and Mary's going to talk to us about the random acts of kindness that we're doing on 6 South.
Hi, I'm Mary Miller. I'm the supervisor of 6 South here. And today I'm going to share a little bit about some of the random act of kindness that we do and share with other departments within the system. So what comes to mind when you hear random acts of kindness? What are some of the little things that come to mind? Compliments, praise, thinking of you notes to peers, holding the door for somebody, taking visitors from point A to point B when the building seems to be daunting at times. So some of those are the random little things. What we like to do for other departments is build our interdepartmental relationships, both through recognition as well as appreciation, and that's pretty much our focus when we look at the random acts of kindness for what we do. And then it's for departments that help us with patient care, but also ones that care for us as well. So it kind of goes both ways when we think about who we want to do. And as a department, we've been sending thank you random acts of kindness baskets for 3 or 4 years now. So it's nice to have a built list of who we send them to and recognize. So as a staff council group, we have this as a project of ours, and we talk as a group when we meet monthly, and we decide who we want to recognize. And usually we have a few ideas in mind for the months to come so we can kind of plan accordingly. We set a date for our donations to be turned in, and then we give some time to collect those donations. We also send out information. We talk about it in huddles. We talk about it in our unit meetings about the next huddle and random act of kindness that department that we're going to recognize. And then we gather those donations. Sometimes they're themed depending on the month, and sometimes they're themed based on who we're giving them to. And then based on our busyness of our floor, we either do that monthly or every other month depending on what's going on for us. And then we either deliver our baskets personally, or we ask a volunteer to help us and have that be kind of a secret delivery. So we like to have a little bit of an element of surprise for the departments that we recognize. So some of the feedback that we have had, they're very appreciative of our recognition. Some people come up personally and thank us. And also individuals in the department come up individually and just appreciate and let us know that that was a nice gesture that we have done for them. A lot of times too, we just like to recognize other departments because we are a very fast-paced floor with admissions and discharges. And some of the departments that we've recognized because of the patient care and what we do, speech, occupational therapy, OTPT, that was a big basket that we sent with them. Cath lab, pharmacy operators, care management, palliative care, spiritual care was kind of a basket together. The patient transporters we recognized a little while ago. Environmental services, we couldn't do what we do with admissions and discharges if we didn't have the support of them, and working so hard to have the turnover of our rooms. And then volunteers, because of all the point A to point B's that they do and the discharges that they come and help bring out to their vehicles. And then also medical imaging is another department that we've recently done. So I challenge you to bring this back to your departments. Seek out opportunities for those positive little moments that also come into play with this burnout as well, as we learn about that, so we can have positive impacts with the people that we do work with. Thank you.
I don't know about you guys, but that makes me so happy. Like, it warms my heart that people are doing this. And I know there's other departments that are doing things too. So just as an impromptu, does anybody have anything that their departments are doing? Yes?
This is kind of odd. Well, first of all, I'm transitioning to a new department, and so I've had the opportunity to kind of clean up my desk a little bit, and I ran across a letter that I got. And so I just want to give some emphasis to the gratitude letters. This was written back in 2011, and I still have it. So at a staff meeting, we went around and we were saying, you know, the person on your right, say something that you really appreciate about working with that person. And so we went all around the room, and then the rest of the staff meeting went on. Well, after the staff meeting, I didn't realize at the staff meeting that I didn't have them do that for me. They just did it for each other. And so I got a letter from one of my staff saying that, how could we have missed you? Because I want you to know that we appreciate this, this, and this. And it was so neat. And so I still have that letter all folded up, and it was back underneath things in my desk. And that staff person happened to work yesterday, and I pulled it out and I said to her, you have no idea how many times I pulled this out over the last 8 years and read it when I was having kind of a crappy day. And I just wanted to give some emphasis to the gratitude letters, because you have no idea what kind of an impact they could have.
Excellent. Yes, so gratitude is by far the most powerful one, I think, right? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but anything else that people are doing? I know I had heard that there's these thank you notes too, and so it's interesting because am I back in the? Okay. The thank you notes that are happening in clinic, I think mostly, right? Or are you doing them in the hospital too? The little thank yous. Okay, perfect, yeah. And so that's basically the same kind of concept. I think, at least I know they do them in my clinic. I wasn't super aware of them actually until I had talked to somebody about it, and I was like, oh, we've been doing this for how long? Like, I had no idea this was happening. So I think the one thing that we're trying to do, at least with the 3 Good Things intervention, is to try to make it visible. So that if you can make it visible, people can see. What we're hoping even is that our patients come in and say, wow, like this is a great place, right? The people really love each other and they're really grateful for things. And you know what? If they want to write something on a star, let them put it up there. And so I know that we've talked about it with different departments. The Duke has 21 different resiliency intervention tools, one of which is random acts of kindness. So random acts of kindness actually is a powerful one as well. It's amazing when Dr. Mary Schultz and I went to this presentation back in May, and they had somebody who had come to this conference before. They had at UNC Chapel Hill, and they worked in a very busy unit, and they had poor morale. They had poor, all their satisfaction scores were low, all their quality metrics were low. And they realized they just needed to do something. They started doing some of these things, and as a side effect, they certainly saw the improvement in the morale and the team building, but their experience numbers went up, their quality numbers went up, their infection rates went down. It was amazing. So as a really great byproduct, just by focusing on resiliency, those other things that we really find very important, and the things we get paid for, right, they're actually all improving as well. And so it's amazing what we do when we can just have a little bit of teamwork, a little bit of relationship building, a little bit of resiliency, and kind of thinking about how we can help each other. And so, so nobody has anything else I want to share? Yes?
So CLW is participating in the Duke study, so the 10 days of, you get an email and it asks you to think of the 3 good things. And so day 4 was not only the 3 good things, but random acts of kindness. And thinking of 3 random acts of kindness that you witnessed or participated in for the day. And so it asks you, what did you see? So you're trying to be more observant. And whether it happened to you or you were involved, what did you have to do with it? And then what was your reaction to it? And it causes you to really think about that, and not only to understand for the 3 random acts of kindness that I listed last night, was that I was a recipient of that, and I didn't necessarily initiate it, but I participated by receiving it, and how I really felt. And one response was joy, and one was gratitude, and one was a feeling of hope. And when I really was able to reflect, it is in 4 days making a difference on how I feel the next day. My nightmares actually have stopped. I've been having nightmares, so thank you.
Sorry to hear about your nightmares, but I'm glad that they're getting better. Yeah, so it's interesting because this cohort, originally, we were thinking, whoa, that we just had to do our 3 good things, right? So that's the way they describe it. But what they do every day is they actually emphasize another one of these positive emotions. And so there's been awe, and they show you this really pretty picture, and you have to think about something that's just been awe-inspiring for you, and you have to reflect and write about it. Because, when you're writing about things, it actually helps you as well. So it helps you kind of just reflect and really think about things. So it's been kind of a fun experience. So the cohort has started now, but I'm hoping to expand this. The next one's in October. So anybody else who's interested, we can push it out and just send it to anybody who wants to do it. But it really is just a powerful thing to spend time really working on your own resiliency. And so, in gratitude, I have this app on my phone that it comes every night. What are your 3 good things? And when I'm struggling, I do it. When I'm doing pretty well, I actually don't. I would kind of skip it. But when I'm having a tough time, then that's when I really do it, make sure I do it every night. So, so anything else anybody want? Oh, yay, got another one.
So this is actually in my last position, but when I was at Theta in ICU, it's, tough days, burnout was high, tough patients, you got the family members, traumas, neurotrauma patients coming in. They had actually the cold lavender, but it wasn't called the cold lavender. It was similar though, but it was so nice. It was really nice when they implemented it. I would say before I left, it was maybe like they were doing it for like a year, and the chaplain was in the ICU, so the chaplain family and the patient, but then you would have a little counseling session with them after, like at the end of the day. So it was nice because you felt like, you know, you were supported. It's nice to have that one-on-one versus the department is good and everything, but I always liked, you know, personally having that support. So yeah, it was really nice. It's nice to see that it's implemented too. Because it's tough. You work, you know, in healthcare, you're working with patients, and then you're working with, you go home, and then you're taking care of family members, so it, you know, kids. So you're always taking care of somebody. So it was nice to see, like, someone's taking care of me.
Our buckets get empty sometimes, right? Yeah. And I think that's the thing with medicine, right, is that you see a lot of tragedy and you're expected to just turn it off and move on. And so that debrief is so important. And so I think, I mean, looking for ways to continue to expand that debrief process is one of my my goals, at least. So we'll kind of keep working on that. But so I think, let's see here. All right. So here's some other things that we actually got feedback. So Terry, when we were thinking about doing this, had sent out an email to all the directors and supervisors, and so we did hear back. So a lot of people are doing kind of positive quotes or sayings at shift change, just trying to start that shift on a positive note. There's walking meetings. I love seeing the walking meetings. That's always great. And then example of personal accomplishment and example of work-related accomplishments at department meetings. So that's pretty cool, right? When you're reflecting and showing that pride. And then the junk department, the junk food, of course, you know, that's another one that I like. Trying to really keep the healthy snacks going. And then the ergonomic assessments and follow up on all the recommendations. So I think that's actually very important from an employee health standpoint. So that's something that we're really working to make sure is happening as well. So with that, oh, here's some more. So getting the people the time for that physical activity, getting them up and moving, giving praise to employees who take many walks throughout the day. So that's really embracing that culture of health and supporting that all that recommendations we make to move. Participating in the wellness book club. So this has been great. So Gina, do you want to talk a little bit about this? Or are you the wellness book club?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we are doing Workplace Wellness That Works book club. We have 57 leaders signed up for that. We're meeting about monthly, every 5 weeks or so. When did it start? March, I think, kickoff. We had to cancel one meeting. Scheduling with 57 leaders is a little bit difficult, but we're working through Laura Putnam's book. And working through the steps and their kind of takeaways, talking about the steps, going through what the process is, with the expectation then the leaders to take that back to their teams. They're supposed to identify their core action team, their go-to people in their department, to kind of talk about how it applies to their department, and make it personal in how it works for them. So we're about halfway through, and it's really inspiring and good work.
Excellent. So, and then it looks like event greeting cards for departments, sign and write a note. So there's a lot of really good things happening. I think that we should and can do a better job at recognizing this. And so I think even if we did something like this every often, or whether we do something more on the website or something, but I think there's got to be a way that we can show all the good things that are happening, because like we said, when we see a lot of the bad, it's what we remember. And so if we can really focus on this positive things, then we're already doing some good work. So relationships, I wanted to put this in here just because I want to emphasize the importance of how important it is to have good, healthy relationships. So social relationships, as you probably know, when you have people that really feed you, you just feel great. And it really helps you with your health. It actually helps us live longer. And there's a study here that shows that social relationships, it's hard for you guys to read these, but they're actually more effective at helping you live longer than even not smoking and exercise and a healthy diet. And so these relationships are super important. So we spend a lot of time with the people we work with. And so if we can foster these relationships and really improve them, then it's something that's going to help us live longer. And so it's all about sustainability and helping us to live our best life and finding our joy. And so that's what I'm going to actually challenge you to do. So thinking about some of these ideas here, if you're interested in learning more about the resiliency intervention tools, then I'm happy to always come to a department and talk about those too. But the goal is that we're really just doing something for each other and to really make sure that we're helping each other out. And so with that, any questions? We'll end it early today, which is nice. Nothing? All right. Here we go.